Initially, when Google Plus first came out, Google was trying to rival that of Facebook and create a social network. And ultimately, what ended up happening was they created a destination where people could go and like populate links and use hashtags, but it's not as robust as some of the other social networks. So you certainly have some content marketers who are doing really well at being able to use Google Plus to drive traffic. Anything Google is typically associated with SEO, so it's great for that. If you're using any of the Google apps, YouTube, Gmail, you basically have a Google Plus account because you have those logins. And the cons are that they don't really know what they're doing with it as of right now. I mean, Julie just sent me a snapshot. They're trying to resuscitate it and bring it back. But it's a very specific type of user or end user, if you will. So, aid them from a fashion standpoint, try to have some exclusive content and things of that nature. But I would wager to say that the majority of us in the room, our ideal audience may not be on Google Plus. Yes.
In the past, when I've run social media channels for a company, we didn't really participate, but we would post it through Hootsuite. Do you do that ever just for?
So that's a good question. For me, what I actually do is actually go in through the platform itself and post it through the platform itself. And I do the same for LinkedIn. I primarily use Hootsuite for Twitter. That's just me because I know that Facebook will give favored content that actually gets scheduled through its platform to be shown.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So some people from a convenience standpoint don't care and they're like, I need to get all these things out. But I'm working with clients that have a smaller budget, so I have to be able to ensure that as many people as possible see that's what the ways what or how. Rounding this out, YouTube. Okay, so one of my stats is that there's 300 hours of YouTube content that gets uploaded. I think it was every month, and I'll make sure to include that in the deck. But we know that YouTube, it's web-based, it's long-form web content, whereas Vine and Instagram are giving us 6 and 15-second clips. You can actually watch shows here on YouTube. YouTube actually spans the careers of a lot of influencers in the beauty space, and now we're seeing it sort of trickle down to other areas, fitness, sports, and things of that nature. The lovely part of it, again, is that you actually are able to put up video content, you're able to put up a keyword-rich title, you're able to put up keyword-rich description, you can really optimize your videos for search. And the cons is that, it takes a while, just like anything else, to actually grow a channel. And I was reading about Michelle Phan. I don't know if you guys are familiar with her, but she's a beauty blogger who, has really taken off as far as being an influencer, multi-million-dollar work now. And they were saying how she would post 8 videos in 1 month because she started to see that demand come. That's a lot of video content if you think about it, having to actually shoot and edit and all of that. So it does take a lot of time and resources to grow a channel. So, for Stephanie's recommendations here, if you're going to use this, a weekly video post is recommended. Clearly, we're putting video content here. Little side note, you have thumbnails for your content, and YouTube tends to give you an automatic thumbnail. But I've studied a lot of YouTube marketing, and the click-throughs actually come when you customize those thumbnails, so that's something to be mindful of. And there's not so much, hashtag functionality as there is, tagging specifically and strategically videos that, would be related to your content. So in my case, there's a woman named Marie Forleo who's a huge YouTuber, and if I put the video up on YouTube, one of my tags is Marie Forleo, another one of my tags would be online marketing. So again, going back to this idea of keywords and making sure that you're using those keyword-rich terms as your actual tags. So that you can find
out. How do you tag them? You just to add that person?
No. In the actual, if you upload
that person has their own tag.
Yes. Okay, Snapchat and Vine. I have both, but they've been really, really, really popular for the comedic, creative types. If you're an entertainer, I've seen a lot of people who have gotten a lot of notoriety and brand deals talk about influencers. So it's a younger audience, 15, 25 years old. If you're into that short form, witty content, we've all seen those Vine compilations. So it's really a matter of you have to be able to capture people's attention. You have to be really compelling right away. That's why a lot of these Viners take it up as well. Snapchat, you're sharing something, it's there within an instant, it lives for a set amount of time. A lot of younger generation love that transparency, the fact that, you know, they're not going to have, it's very instantaneous for them. So clearly these brands have jumped on the bandwagon, and Taco Bell's pretty much done everything right from a social standpoint. And ultimately, for both of these channels, you know, from a user standpoint on Snapchat, I think it's going to be a little bit more industry and niche specific. So travel, beauty, things of that nature. And then for Vine, really it's just a matter of, you know, do you have a more video-based audience that are going to respond to you in that way? Or are you trying to be more creative and compelling and entertaining? Or do you have more static and good Instagram or pictures perhaps to give you better return?
But Snapchat, there's a lot of case studies for like live events or like pre-shows, pre-sport shows. Like if you have a brand that like has special access to like VIP events and things, like it's like and it's a great place to put that out there if you're marketing to that younger demographic.
We have these compilation things too where you can have,
because it feels like it's still kind of like not everybody's there. Like people use it for like their VIP special, most engaged type, you know, group of their target. And then putting out like, okay, jump on Snapchat this time, you know, we're gonna cover this, and you know, and it's exclusive, it's gonna go away. So that kind of
you'll miss out. FOMO. Yelp, I mean, I think we've seen Yelp in and of itself sort of become its own social network where you might engage with, you know, somebody who's recommended something that you've never met before, and you take that recommendation to heart with regard to a restaurant, a hotel, any experience that you can name it. So from a local business standpoint, it's obviously very robust because you have the freemium model, which works really, really, really well, and then you can upgrade to the advertising model where they start promoting your business, depending upon how many competitors you have in certain categories and doing all sorts of things, Yelp deals and things of that nature. The other thing that Yelp, you know, you either get a lot of praise on Yelp or you get a lot of hate on Yelp. So from a community management and business standpoint, this is one of those channels that you need to make sure you monitor, particularly if you have a restaurant or something that's more service and experience based, because it could kind of backfire towards your business.
I kind of do. So I don't do a lot of work with small businesses that make sense to me, you know, but I've started to hear some really horror stories when I have talked to people about Yelp. So I feel like it's something to warn about. So I don't know how we're getting away with this, but and I've heard this more than one time from small businesses that have bought their advertising packages, and so you know they were getting sort of favorable treatment, like their positive comments are at the top, and as soon as they ended that, they like just treated them horribly, like the positive ones went away. Like there's something about the system that it's like they're kind of like you either have to be on it forever. It's not something to test. Like you either commit and stay on it and pay for it, or don't ever. It's what I've heard from
yeah, and they lie because they say that doesn't matter if you buy it.
But I mean, I had students. I've had a student in each one of my classes now that they're small business, like that's had this experience now, and I've heard it from a couple of people enough to go, okay, I'd be warned against it. Like, never do it. You know, and the only other thing, so when you do have a negative thing, like not so worried about like that it's negative. It's like you can turn that around, like the on story, but you know. Never put out a canned response here. Yeah, it should be personal. I'm sorry that you experienced that. Contact us offline. This is how we handle it, so people can see that you actually had integrity in how you handled it. But it's not really negative. You can handle it in a high integrity kind of way. And I wouldn't worry so much about that. So when they're selling you on like buy these packages, we'll put your positive for like it's not really.
TripAdvisor is similar. Same kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like they'll have reviews on there, and
I mean, it's like if this whole you guys are paying attention to this whole people app crap. Sorry, really like the whole people, the people.
Social network trends.
Yeah,
What was that?
Yeah. So since we were in class, I think it goes the next day. girls, I'm gonna try to say this without my opinion, no, it's not gonna happen. Basically came out and said they created a Yelp for people where people could be rated. And it was like, it was so hoaxy that it, I think it may be, but who knows? Like, it hasn't been announced that it really is a hoax. It looks like a total hoax. For so many reasons. Who? I mean,
It was like some real.
I don't want to get too on track. My point is,
What are your teachers?
we got a lot to cover, but well, so what they said, and we can't get too off track. What they said, right, what they said in their brain when they put out the message for the Yelp for people, they were actually trying to say that. It's like, people don't like Yelp. Why? I mean, how retarded are you? But like, what kind of research have you done? Like, you just, but it's most likely a hoax. I think, who knows what's going to happen. We can't really talk about it too much, but
There's one of the guys that we recommend and say with the boyfriend's term really is.
Well, I would say the most prevalent one for us is Periscope, right? So as far as like the new cool thing, you know, beyond Snapchat and Vine, it was Meerkat. I didn't know what the heck Meerkat was, but I certainly know what Periscope is. And now because Periscope has become so popular, there's all these little like spin-off apps with regard to Periscope. So this is just, you know, the nature in which we're living, where Periscope is in fact a mobile app. You can't turn it on through your computer or anything like that. You can watch a stream, but you have to be using your phone to actually broadcast. In mobile messaging, from a mobile messaging standpoint, I mean, now we're getting more comfortable with receiving text messages and things of that nature. I was just at Target the other night, and now throughout the aisles, it's like text such and such number to receive a coupon. So text marketing tried to make its entrance back in like 2010, 2011, and as users, we weren't necessarily there, but that's changed dramatically because I think of iPhone and apps and all of that. So for some people, that's going to be more pertinent as well.
So Skype doesn't come up here at all as one of the chat ones?
You know, Skype, people tend to use it fundamentally to engage one-on-one. We talk about social networks, we're talking about one-to-many, but
it's kind of more of a business, and so really what we're talking about here is like the trend towards these like little one-off chat networks, like WhatsApp probably was really the first one, not really the first one, but like where there were benefits and the premiums of like using this, like your friends that were out of the country, like you could be on here and talk to us. Yeah. But what we're talking about here is, you know, there's too many people on this network, let's go somewhere else. We want to be private, we want to be anonymous, you know, a lot of the bad anonymous parts of like catfishing stuff is happening here. But from a digital marketing standpoint, because of the way these things are growing and they're valued, and WhatsApp wasn't WhatsApp purchased by Facebook, like these become another place to do digital marketing, and they're going to get creative. So instead of like just the whole display ads, it's like, okay, here's a set of funny icons, little emojicons with our brand. Like that's the example, like Miller Lite is kind of little brand that you can now share with your friends. It's another way. Like we know people are spending time in these chat apps, in group type conversations, because they're sort of wanting to get offline, but they're really not. They still want like this, you know, kind of this fixation.
Do they each have different demographics? So like my daughter likes Line, and I'm like, I love the Facebook Messenger. Like, do you see different demographics for different ones, like age and stuff?
I would say for each of the social networks. I mean, you might have like the Olympic Games, meaning that there could be some overlap for each of them, but most certainly, just like any other business. Okay, so this is a really great, this sort of picks up on what you're saying more so from like a platform standpoint versus like an app standpoint. Why are people using, like what they're using? Going back to what we were talking about last class with the micro experiences. In Twitter, it's typically, you know, you're looking at something, it's very like real time, you're sharing, so it's more perception based. Facebook has always been about connecting to, you know, your past friends, staying connected with your family. Pinterest is like very aspirational, but also here's how you can do something. I'm going to show you from a visual standpoint, catch your attention visually. And with Google Plus, we know that that's a little bit more niche audience, and most certainly an audience who is going to be very specific based upon topics and things that they can find and search through the hashtag. So now we get to content. So I really love this example that Stephanie showed, which is faking it versus getting real. So you can also see here on the left-hand side, we've got the plush bunny versus the actual bunny. So what is faking it? Faking it is basically going to the computer and not necessarily thinking about not only your content, but that audience, right? That person at the end. And the way you might talk about your business and your products and services and what your customer may need can in fact be two different things. So that's why it's really, really, really important. Another thing with faking it, we've already touched on tonight in prior classes, is yeah, you want to like share other people's content, but you're not just tweeting for the sake of tweeting or posting for the sake of posting. There are quantifiable things that you can get: results, traffic, emails, leads, sales, et cetera, and if you're just driving traffic to other people's sites, guess what? You don't get the benefits of buyer products and those other things.
It's just typically done. It's like, don't do unplanned content. It's typically done when you're from the person that's like sitting down like, oh, what am I going to tweet today? Like that's not, if you're doing that, you're already way missed the boat of like how this connects strategically to real call to actions and what you're actually, to your KPIs and your tangible goals. And
you might want to a little bit trending, like you might want to a little bit way.
But that's based on you've spent time researching what's relevant in your industry. You're like, ooh, there's a hot topic that I can jump on right now. So it's still kind of planned. It's not just, what am I going to tweet about today? And here, oh, I'll just repost this thing. It's like, just don't get yourself in an unplanned. It's just like sex. Don't get yourself in an unplanned situation. It's bad. It's bad.
Which is where you come up with the fluffy fill-ins. No fluffy fill-ins. Ultimately, what you really want to strive for, we talked about Humans in New York at the beginning of class, and we talked about getting real. That's like as real as you can get. That's great storytelling. That's great imagery. And if you look at Humans in New York across like Tumblr and Facebook, and I mean, he's very strategic, even though he's storytelling and appealing to people at the emotional level. So the real deal is that your content is in fact planned and tied back towards goals, short-term and long-term for your brand. Can I, because you mentioned that, I'm sorry.
Sure. I don't want to be the one to make it look I watched a cool video with that guy, Brandon, and in this video, he was talking about how he has modified his approach when he walks up to somebody to take their picture. And if that is not an example of the kind of work that you have to put into researching as a digital marketer, because he learned over time by me walking up and real confrontational is not going to work, and the right words. And he even got to the point where he's a big talk out, how he would sort of make himself look not intimidating and punch over, and then the people would be more likely to say yes. It's such a good example of like how much fine tuning it takes to get a yes, to get somebody to take a call to action. Just in this little video of how he approaches people on the street. It was awesome. I'll find it for you guys. I'll find it.
So these last three things, brand focused on goal, telling your brand story, and sharing your brand culture, I think these are like super important things to emphasize. And the reason being is because sometimes we're hesitant to talk about what it is that we're selling or promoting. There seems to be this sort of air sometimes of, I don't want to come across the wrong way. And really, if you go back to like, what are our goals? What does our customer need from us? And how can we make sure that our content speaks to those needs? You can disarm that a little bit. When you think about telling your brand story, GoPro does a really great job of this. I mean, it's a story, so you have to be able to talk to people about what it is that you do, what it is that you're selling. Otherwise, they just won't make the connection. There's way too much competition out there. And this last part, sharing your brand culture. I'm trying to think of, like, Lululemon is a really great example of this, how Lululemon sells athletic wear, but in everything that you see, they're all about community and fitness and wellness. And yes, people are wearing their non-see-through pants or whatever, but the point is that, you still walk away with knowing what that brand is all about. It's very, very clear. Tips for generating great social content. I think we're all aware of these, so I'll breeze through them really quickly. Make sure your content looks good on all social channels. That goes back to what I was saying before. Now we have all these different dimensions for pictures and things like that. You have to make sure that they fit across all social networks and mobile. Emotional headlines, I mean, I cannot emphasize this enough, which is why I was on the midterm. Seriously, try to do some writing prompts, try to do some creative writing classes, whatever you can do. One of the tactics is looking at magazines, and sometimes they use videos. There's all these like stylish things that you could do to try to rewrite headlines. But if it's boring to you, and if you're like, when you're writing it, it's gonna be boring to your reader, make your content easy to share. I think I previously talked about this in class. Not only does it need to be easy to share, but you need to make sure that your social media is in fact getting credited when you share it. So I can't tell you how many times I read an article and I go to hit the share button, and the site that I'm sharing it from isn't even showing up in the widget or the tweet. And I'm like, I want them to get the traffic, so I'm gonna take the time to go back, tag them, but it's a missed opportunity for them as far as keeping track of all that engagement that they could be getting. So create more engaging content on social media. Like I said, if you go back and look at the resources, I think Rebecca Minkoff did a really great example of that. Sure, they could show you pictures of like bags and how you wear the bag and different scenarios of streetwear, but she actually said, I want to create an interactive experience on Facebook. And sometimes all it takes is just one little tweak on any of these social platforms to create that actual interaction. Test your format on mobile, and we all know that now. Publish your content at the right time. So there was a question about like, part of these analytics tools and things of that nature will show you certain days. And one of the things that I particularly like about Facebook Insights is if you go in, it will show you when people tend to be online more often. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at that at the back of the Facebook Insights. Yes.
I have a question about that because it's telling you how many people are online at a given point, but isn't there also research out there that says that you shouldn't be posting when everybody else is online because there's an oversaturation, right? I feel like
Well,
that's clear.
on Facebook Insights, it's specific to the people who have liked your page.
Yeah.
So it's solely specific to people who have liked your page. Right. So my whole thing, and you can agree or disagree with this, is like this is something that I do try to test across different platforms. Like, you know, typically I'm trying to get a post up maybe about 7 o'clock Pacific time because I know that I'm going to cover my Eastern market. I'm always thinking US, and I'm thinking how can I get, you know, my people who live on the West Coast and the East Coast to try to see my content. What can I do next? Well, 10 o'clock Pacific time is typically after lunch East Coast time, and I've tested that like over 30-day, 60-day, 90-day periods, and I've switched those hours sometimes to see what would affect my post reach. But that's me, and I'm like super
You use
into
the same
that.
message, the same testing.
I would
Same
post,
exact message
Monday
with
would be a
different
post at like 7 a.m. Tuesday would be a post at 10 a.m. And I'm talking about Facebook specific. My whole point is you're going to read a ton of articles from Social Media Today, from Social Media Examiner, from other consultants, and there's a lot of different information out there. You just have to test it. That's what I can say.
But when you do it that way, like, couldn't it just be that the other message was more compelling than the time? Like, you're not doing the same exact message?
You do want to eliminate as many variables as possible when you're doing a test. So like, you know, if you, maybe you like, maybe you themed out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Like Monday is hypothetical sports, Tuesday's food, whatever. And so you do the same type of pose on a different time. So it's maybe not the same exact message, but it's like, it's our food post, or it's our post that we always put the blog out, or it's a post that we always put a funny meme, or, you know, kind of, you can do it that way.
That's how I did it, yeah. Okay, so, and that touches here on this, most blog content is read in the morning. However, men tend to be more likely to read content in the evenings. Monday is the best day of the week to publish content. Most blog posts get post traffic by 11 a.m. I actually have a study from medium.com, which is like a huge blog destination that talks about all these different types of things that they've pulled from all the people who have posted on their site, so I'll share them in resources. Saturday and early morning visitors, 9 a.m. tend to leave more comments. Monday and Tuesday are the highest drivers of inbound traffic. Sunday tweets receive the most retweets, and publish your content early in the week and early in the morning to maximize your social media impact.
And obviously these are averages, you know, it's very, like Jacqueline's saying, it's like, averages can lie, this is kind of a typical thing, it's like where you start to benchmark, but then you've got to see what's happening with your particular client, when are they responding, and do, tests, don't just take, that's what it is and it's not working, so it's not working.
There's no shortage of articles for people in this industry who have case study call their clients, which is why it's when in doubt, just gotta.
But when you're short on time, I'd rather spend 3 hours testing my own client than 3 hours reading somebody else's case studies. It's, it kind of comes down to that. Do the test. That's what this is about. Do your own test.
Even Danilo was saying last week, somebody asked him a question and she was like, "What's the answer?" And he's like, "I don't know." And
Do your test.
he hired her and she was like, "What do you mean I don't know?" He's like, "I don't know, you go test it out. I would test it. I don't know the answer." I'm curious to know, Stephanie, your take on should all your content on social be the same?
No. This was a question I think a student asked in the last class. So you see it sometimes because it's small, it's like a result of a small budget, but technically if you really have developed these networks in a way that there's a different type of your segment on Instagram than there is on Facebook, and they respond to different things and different types of posts. So you would want to adjust based on what the network is telling you. And putting out one thing on all networks is a shortcut. It might be because there's no time, it's not enough time budgeted, but in reality, taking that extra step to modify that slightly based on the network, based on what is happening is what you should do.
What about every so often pushing something from Instagram to Facebook to tell your Facebook people to, hey, connect with us on Instagram as well?
Every so often, some people are not going to see the Instagram post, that, right? So you're limiting that. I'd rather see you post connect with us on Instagram. Do you know we're on Instagram? Remind them, and always doing it in a way so from a consumer, I follow you on Facebook. Why the hell do I need to follow you on Instagram? So you should say something on Instagram, this is what you're going to get from us. It's really important in any of these networks, not just to put a bio, but if you can work into why we're here, what you're going to expect from content here, and stick to that, that's really good. So people can make a decision. Oh, you know what? I do want to be on Instagram. I want to see celebrity pictures from this brand or whatever, whatever it is. Tell them what they're going to get. What's the value of them following on Facebook and Instagram?
Well, the other question for Twitter, I have a question, is Twitter, sometimes you see a tweet has not that long, it's out there.
24 minutes roughly.
And you see people sometimes retweeting the same thing over. If you go back to their feed, it looks shitty, but if you look at your main news feed, it's oh, I missed it because I wasn't on 24 minutes ago.
No, should you auto-schedule the same redundant content over and over and over again? No. But do you have evergreen content that you could schedule, not back to back to back on that particular day, but maybe once or twice on Monday, once on Wednesday? Sure.
And what's the best way to do that? Start with an H. Change the headline. So you can have a good piece of content, and you can change the headline. You can use it several times. Nobody knows. They never clicked on it the first time. They don't know because you just promoted it under a different headline. And by the way, that's another reason why taking the time to post on not through a scheduler, going on Facebook and changing the image. Uploading a different image now that instead of the one that's embedded and it's polling, that's another way to get a little more mileage out of what you've created and it still looks different.
And that's what I've been doing, but I see big brands just wait, I saw that 2 hours ago, and I'm maybe that would be faster if I did that.
No, so, to your point, why are we all using social networks? Let's go back to the original purpose before we do marketing and things, which we all love, but theoretically it was in fact, social media was to get real-time news. We were following people who were typically topic specific. Now a lot of us are probably using social media as our exclusive news source. I never have to turn on TV. I get all my news live through Facebook and Twitter. Ultimately, we use these mediums to connect with our friends, connect with our families. We're now using these mediums to find interesting things, to try new hobbies, acquire new skills, and we all know that you're either interrupting or you're contributing. One of the things too is that, or maybe you're just observing. I did read a statistic that said about 2/3 of all social media participants are silently observing.
Stalker.
Yeah. All right, so this is a little funny cartoon. This relationship is gonna kill me. With the pencil and the sharpener. As you know, your organization is either disrupting or interrupting people's experience. I think that's like one of the most important words in that sentence. If you're creating for people on these platforms, it's an actual experience. Humans in New York isn't just a bunch of pictures of like cool people. It's an experience. It can make you cry.
People have lost it.
There you go. Most certainly, people know their comments and likes are shown to their friends, and this goes along the lines of like influencers. You have many different definitions of influencers. You've got what we call our social media influencers. You've got your celebrity influencers, and then you've got influential people even within your circle who are influencers. People really take ownership of that. Your Yelp elite are influencers. People definitely like funny, and people definitely like photos, so that's the point of this whole cartoon here. Humor always sells. I had one of my clients tell me recently that he was in advertising, and they would go into these pitch meetings, and he would always play the humor angle. And one time, whoever he was reporting to was like, "Why do you gotta always have a joke?" And he's like, "If you go to an apple cart, like in one destination and just buy an apple, and you go to an apple cart on the other side of the cart and buy an apple, I tell you the joke, who do you think gets the repeat business?" So the joking, humor sometimes can backfire if people can't trust you, if it's not on brand. Like I think we've all discussed, 824 does a really great example of being very funny and throwing in innuendos, but they're a food brand. It may not work for everybody, but when it does work, it works really well. Okay, so we talked about things in New York creating an emotional response. You want to aim to get one of these 4 emotional responses within your social marketing content, right? Awe, desire, maybe like Instagram I think creates a lot of desire, affection, laughter, the last bit, okay. So as far as like your imagery is concerned and your content's concerned, you got to keep it very, very simple. If it can go over somebody's head too much, if there's too much thinking involved, then forget it. You've lost them if you spent all this time trying to create something. So here's a great example of humor really working well. Like maybe where you guys can't read it, but it says, "Who's taken the top down already?" Right? Taking the top down, we get into a little innuendo, and the fact that it's snowing make you laugh. These fearless daredevils headed for the snowy alpine roads of last Switzerland. It's worth the ride. Wrap up warm. Over here is the 2 of our favorite funny men. Who are those?
I'm in danger.
All right.
Will Ferrell.
Who would you rather have as your college roommate? Super, super simple and straightforward, but definitely going to get a lot of engaging because we like, what was that movie Rodney Dangerfield was in? Like Back to School or something?
Yeah. I know, but back to school and old school.
And then the Twix example here, if the Twix snaps in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it still sound delicious, right? Super simple.
And the point on that one too, look how they involve other profiles, like they're kind of like, those are probably at replies came from, but getting people in a conversation, like, what do you think? When in doubt, it's top levels conversation, what's going to help start a conversation? Number 1, a question mark. Number 2, actually inviting someone to be a real person, real profile to engage in it.
And crediting, also using content that people have, like your fans or your brand have created, which is what it seems like they were doing here too. So questions to ask yourself when posting, and again, I'll put those prompts in there because ultimately you want to know what's our goal and what's our approach for creating our content. But is it too much text? Is the photo eye-catching and high quality? Particularly on Facebook, I think it's better to have the PNG than the JPEG. Sometimes your JPEG photos can get compressed, so that's just a little tip. Can you see the logo? Is the call to action visible? Is the call to action clear? There's a big difference between click here and ready to such and such, you know, so sometimes you have to make sure that your call to action is more clear than clever. And are we asking the person to do too much? This is really critical with regard to like contests and giveaways and things of that nature. If there's like way too many steps and details and it's too time intensive, then someone's most likely to abandon and not participate.
Yeah, how do you determine how time sensitive, like what's the ideal time for contest?
I want to show you some examples of contests that have done really well, and I can show you some examples of contests that have not done so well, so that you can see. So rounding this out, social tools, we have a lot of tools in our tool belt now. Thankfully, we don't have to rely on Photoshop or any of those things, although that's helpful. Now you have Canva, you have PicMonkey. From a visual standpoint, you can even create infographics now with picture charts. You know, if you need to create a survey or something of that nature, you've got Typeform. If you need to distribute these things, Tracy, here's your favorite Reddit forum, all right? But again, don't go in there with guns a-blazing. Here's my link. You really need to like build
It's engaged, really have to actually have an engagement.
ShareGrouph is new to me, but Outbrain is really great if you are blogging and you want to be able to get your blog content distributed on a lot of different sites, and there is a charge associated with that, but it can certainly help with like reception, distribution, traffic. From a scheduling standpoint, you've heard Stephanie and I both talk about Sprout Social and how we really like that. Buffer, there's been a couple of issues my clients have had with Buffer, but people still use it. Hootsuite, right? So like I said, for me, typically I'm scheduling Twitter content through Hootsuite. I'm using Sprout Social for my reporting, and then I'm scheduling Facebook content through Facebook, the way the algorithm works and all that.
But you can do that, you can have the reports just from Sprout Social.
Yes, but most people are probably going to pick just Sprout Social or Hootsuite. But as far as reporting is concerned, there are side-by-side articles that say that Sprout Social's reporting far surpasses that of Hootsuite, for sure.
Well, plus you have to pay for each of the reports separately, and you don't get a lot of reports in Hootsuite.
Yeah. So the other thing that we mentioned tonight for your Instagram, besides, you know, Sprout Social or Hootsuite, the Iconosphere Instagram is free. There's tweet reach that I use sometimes to see. You get a limited number of how many tweets you can pull up. You can see how far your tweets reach, generate some impressions, and accounts reach that way. You know, there's a ton of things. HubSpot. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of resources that are included, but you know, Iconosphere, especially for Instagram and even Pinterest Analytics, now Insight. There used to be these third-party apps that allowed you to track. You know, a lot of platforms they want to bring it back in-house. All right, so we're going to skip over the activity because of time, and we're going to jump right into influencer marketing. Any other questions right now? Everybody still hanging on? Oh, look at that, one stretch. All right, so this is going back to this chart on the left-hand side, what I was mentioning before, that influencer marketing tends to be this very broad term, and what you might think as an influencer or what your first impression might be when you hear that term would be very different than what I think of. So typically our influencers are celebrities, and now these like YouTube personalities and Viners and all those people are sort of falling into that category because of their notoriety. We've got our publishers and our experts, our bloggers. Then from there you kind of silo down to like the super fans, right? So those are people who don't necessarily have like their own site or anything like that, but are very active on social networks and are very influential with regard to like swaying other people's decisions or being the first to know about a new product or app and things of that nature. And then of course we have our friends. In chart depicts, who has more reach and who has more influence. So our celebrities, obviously with more eyeballs, are going to get more reach. We trust our friends implicitly, therefore, when they recommend a product or service to us, we're more likely to heed their advice.
These also, this is a way of segmenting messages too. I think Angel's done a really good job. Angel's snap of like, I'm an influencer for her. She knew if she got me the product, I would talk about it and share it. So she did things with her own friend groups, took an extra step to get us engaged. She came over to my house, that girl blow dry with snaps on my hands. I'm a fan, right? So just think about like what you would do, and don't forget like your closest circle to your business or to you what would you do to just make sure that like they're there for life? How would you speak to them? What kind of segmented messages do you have to do, or segmented activities to sort of get them on board? So it's not just about the celebrities.
Yeah, I mean, you can certainly get credibility from some of your higher level influencers, but it can also backfire because trust really comes from that circle of friends. So brands, brands have their deep pockets. They're able to go out there and they want to get as much reach as possible. Some of us who are coming from a more smaller limited spectrum are really going to rely on these like super fans and kind of influencers to help us ultimately with word of mouth. So there is some effort that is required into this, but the good thing is because you are being a strategic social media marketer, some of your super fans are going to start to pop up in your feed and you'll see who those are, and friends ultimately are just a great byproduct of being social.
I also thought that Angel's like really smart to like give 2 sets of nails, and like so like the people who are using the nails and can't use the other one are giving them to other people also become users.
They may, or like whether the backup, like however they choose how to use them as options, but yeah, for sure.
Compensation of influencers. This is something that is really very rapidly changing. You've all probably seen the post about the girl on Instagram who makes like $15,000 a day or whatever. Bodily. Mom bloggers right now. I mean, it used to be, and shout outs and social cred and social proof and reciprocity still goes a long way. You can find, even people who are in like the digital marketing space who, if you give them like a free product or something to try, are in fact really cool with the whole shout out aspect of it because they realize the value in the exchange. But ultimately, you have to make sure that you provide some sort of value if you want an influencer to talk about your product, your service, your brand, and that's using your real estate. So that real estate is going to be all these platforms that we've talked about. It could in fact be featuring them not just on one, but on Pinterest, on Instagram, on Twitter, and on your blog, right? So make sure that if you're going to go the shout out route, that you're really going to give them something that's of value to them, and a single-handed platform isn't necessarily always the best route to do that, all right? I've touched on like product discounts. Or giveaway. I would say like the giveaway piece is, typically where someone's going to be comfortable trading their time for promoting your product or service. But discounts still go a long way, believe me. Commission. So we've talked about like Stephanie's client and how she was able to latch, and connect these influencers and actually turn them into their best salespeople through affiliate marketing. So there's tons of opportunities there to actually be able to monetize without having to spend money out of pocket to get your influencers to sell for you. We've seen this with fashion bloggers on Instagram too. If you guys see Like It to Know It or something like that. So it's fashion bloggers are able to tag their posts with Like It to Know It. And you actually have to like the picture. If you buy, then there's like a whole way that they get compensated solely for sharing their picture and tagging certain brands in their outfits. And last but not least, this is starting to be really common if you have a bigger influencer, if that influencer has more eyeballs on them and a very, very well tapped into community, but they're looking for typically like a lump sum payment, and that can range depending upon their niche, their community and all that stuff. Shelf fan is like way too expensive for all of us now.
I've heard $50,000 for one post, like one. Some cases, and there's agencies that are they're dipping into that too. They're like, okay, yeah, we'll have such and such a celebrity post this week that's it's $50,000. Like we'll talk about Instagram and stuff that are popping up.
Well, some of your mistakes on the slope.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
And Scott Disick, that's the main reason why he's like running around my hands.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, Anthony Loda just became like the spokesperson for Arrow. Now it's like now that's her job. She presents close to them.
So how do you what is like the thought process on like when people when influencers promote your product, right? But then people are reading and they're like, oh, they got paid to promote that product. What are your thoughts on navigating?
I mean, you the way that this is well done is basing the promotion on a mutually beneficial equation. So if it feels like, well, yeah, this person just got paid to do it, and that's the feel of it, like, oh, you're talking about it because they're getting paid, it's probably not going to create a lot of value. But if it's like, this product sort of saved my life, you can find an opportunity like to connect to someone like, hey, you just talked about this, and I think we have something that will help you. Like, if you use this, now we're willing to pay you a little bit, but really tell your own story, really connect to it. Like, then that's like worth pursuing. It all, like, no matter what level of that last slide, mutually beneficial equation. That should be the thing that, like, when you're approaching them, like, how well do I know this person? What are they talking about? Can I help them tell their story better by aligning them with my product or my need? And, I'm willing to pay for that if we can stretch it, make a story. But the one tweet post, or, even if it's scheduled, we're going to tweet more, and we as consumers can feel like, oh yeah, you got paid for that, did Johnny? Like, they're probably not going to get a lot of value out of that.
It's like when the Instagrammer posted a picture of like some random bag that they like got in, and they're like, oh, like, there's a bag.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like when you see a celebrity in a TV commercial, you're like, I got paid for that. Like,
Yeah.
Linda Carter doesn't own my car.
Yeah.
I'm actually kind of in a situation with a client right now, and I'm not sure, like, what do you ask for? There's like a blogger who's like a mom blogger who's like, okay, I'll give you a free product, but I also charge, X $1,000. And I'm wondering, like, what should I be asking for?
What should you be asking for when they post? Are you going to do this? Or
Oh, no, what kind of proof? Because I wouldn't do it. So.
Yeah, I mean, you could just get good old, did anybody click on the link kind of proof because you're going to go link it, right? But I probably, if that's the whole bit of the relationship, like, you're just going to take my money and I'm going to post and then I'm going to get a report, I probably wouldn't pursue that. I mean, like, the whole point of her getting the product would be, can you use it? Can you talk about it? Can you just come back to us and tell us what you thought about our product, and then we'll work that into the post, But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, well, I thought it was a little bit ridiculous. Just site and stuff.
yeah, I wouldn't do that. I would try to create, if you're going to pay for it, I would say, okay, please use it. Like, let's take feedback from the person that's going to tweet it. Like, we want you to use it. Let us know how you think before we even post or go any further. We want to hear your words, and then we'll, then we can entertain this. And if they're not willing to do that, I don't,
I mean, 20 minutes they take right
Yeah. That's crazy.
I used to do a lot of work with mommy bloggers with one of my clients that had a beverage. And what we would do is, first of all, I'm looking to see if you have a media kit. I mean, do you even know your numbers? Or are you going to tell me, like, I can tell myself through your Alexa ring and your social media following and all that stuff, how engaged your audience is. But theoretically, we would see them with the product first and some coupon codes, and we would say, we're looking, if you're really in this for us long term, we don't have a problem with paying, but let's test this out first and give them some coupon codes. And for those that we ended up investing in, they were in fact able to generate, a few sales or whatever. But to us, it was valuable because we're either going to go and pay to advertise somewhere else, maybe not get conversions, or advertise and pay them, and ultimately get some more clients and like maybe even some more coverage beyond what we had paid for.
And let's not forget, everything is negotiable. So when you're throwing this $1,000, they don't know. There's no they can't prove that. Yeah. Everything's good. They're just seeing what you'll buy off on. And all advertising, all media has always been this way. The margins are ridiculous. So, and you come back to like what Jacqueline just said. I did my homework. We're 23 cloud store. Mine is 67. Like, I think you're probably getting more value out of like talking. Like you can come back and look at all these different elements. And we add something to this too. It's the conversation. It's the collective that's telling the story that creates the value, right?
And I mean, this company is an international company, like the one that will be giving her free product.
Yeah.
She obviously doesn't have reach, in Australia and Europe yet. She's technically a blogger person.
Yeah.
She's not that popular. So I'm just shocked all the people that are actually paying $1,000.
I do too.
She's just trying to.
I bet you find some other things, like some other things, well, let's try this, and, this value, you should probably go for that too, because it's $1,000 is high in the sky number. Sounds good to me.
So actually, you put up something, the cloud score, like people kind of, not once on that being the thing. To influencers, a lot of them already know, they have their numbers. If you go to them, okay, this is kind of how I do with this kind of thing.
Cloud score used to be like 2 years ago the thing that people were looking at to determine how influential you were. Now I would say it's more a matter of like what I'm looking for when I want to know if someone's influential is how engaged is your audience, right? And can I see that your stuff is actually, you're actually replying to people and they're sharing your content? Does one of your blog posts, if you're an influencer, have like retweets? You know what I mean? Are people commenting on your site? Like they should. This actually brings up a really great segue to like PR and social media sort of like overlapping. These I'm talking about it in the context of blogging. Like a magazine that you would go to would have a media commitment, okay? So these bloggers know that if there's going to be a physical financial transaction, that they have to be able to tell the person who's advertising on their site, this is how many page views my site gets every single month, this is where my traffic's coming from, this is the demographics of my site. If they don't have that information,
here's a testimonial to the last person that gave you $1,000, what happened? Like all these things. Cloud score would just be one of them for the conversation, like anything that you have, to negotiate that deal is what I'm saying.
Like, is there any way they can communicate like read only access to their analytics? Is there a way?
This will tell you the level of like the more savvy, like not to say legitimate, but the more savvy ones who are in fact legit know that they have to be able to provide you with like not a PDF, but like a brochure. Yeah.
To answer your questions, some of the tools, scheduling tools, have some comparison things that you do. Like so Sprout will let you compare different Twitter handles, like in the industry, give you a card report like that. So you can't see their back end, but you can see like comparative to like other brands in the marketplace and kind of go, okay, well, you're charging $1,000, but this guy's charging $500, and they're better than you. Like, you can't say that. But yeah, you can't get.
You can use tweet reach if you want them. Particularly, like a lot of people like to use influencers for Twitter parties and Twitter giveaways. Somebody could have a smaller following but be able to reach like a ton of different accounts. So tweet reach is a tool that
the hashtag that Jacqueline said, look at the hashtag for their brand and what are people saying about them, just kind of pull that. Take that temperature for people. What do they say about you?
Yeah. So basically, this is just something else we're talking about. I mean, now the notion of like public relations used to be we're going to go, we're going to get you the coverage, and we're going to reach out to these outlets. Marketing was like a very separate thing. Now you sort of see this hybrid sort of happening where like public relations even covered events at one point. Now we're seeing social media marketing and events, and still a need for PR because PR will always have those media relationships, which are also influential in and of themselves. So everything is sort of becoming more of a hybrid, but really you can't not have the digital marketing side anymore. I mean, there are a ton of publicists that are traditional publicists who reach out to me and probably companies like Stephanie, and we probably all work with them because they know that they need that support from the online side too.
But more and more bloggers are Decision Point now. Right? They have some bloggers listed. They try to do their own influencer scores in there too.
I've had access to Decision in the past, but that's a prime example of what we're talking about. This like blend and hybrid in both.
Well, it's like the traditional agencies, both traditional ad agencies and traditional PR agencies. They didn't want social. When all this came, they were fighting. Oh, it's a trend. It's a trend. We don't have to do it. It's our enemy. It's our enemy. It took a while for them to evolve and go, look, it's here now. How do we evolve to it? And how do we we have to rethink who we are and what our offering is in this mix. But so there has been a lot of reinvention in terms of service agencies and marketing, PR, and advertising. And because we were doing, it's like the influencers were sort of doing it themselves. Like everything's like, wow, we don't need you. You know, it's like, what would I say? Like, we don't need record labels to distribute music content anymore. You know, we're downloading it. Like, there's just been a lot of middlemen cutting out, so these agencies had to really rethink who they are and what they were offering.
Speaking of agencies, we've had to rethink what they're offering. We now have all of these like talent agencies, if you will, for our influencers. Sits Girls is one that's also really good. So if you're a blogger, you can go to Sits Girls and they'll provide you with like sponsor post opportunities. But if you're ever looking to connect with some of these influencers, these would be the primary places that you could go.
Folks, can you just mention?
Sits Girls, SITS Girls. I'll send a link of the updates. Yeah, so I think that as, you know, the periscopes now evolve and things, we're just going to see more and more of these people who really have a knack for audience engagement, bless you, for storytelling, for really just creating that experience, right? I said that is like probably one of the most important words in all of this, like how you create an experience. Traditional marketing was all about product, place, price, promotion. It did not necessarily create experience. What we have the opportunity to do here is create an emotional experience. Hence why all these people, whether they make you laugh, they make you cry, they make you hate them, they make you want to buy something, they are in fact very successful at creating an experience. And then if you ever heard of any of these agencies before or worked with them?
The real kind of the start of this type of influencer marketing is Hello Society. Hello Society was just for Pinterest. So they would like find influencers there. You could go to Hello Society and say, if you have anything to do on your work on Pinterest, they'd be like, okay, these are the ones that you need penny for you, and we'll kind of we'll contact them, we'll create a relationship between you two. And so then Instagram sort of like Hello Society for Instagram. But if you ever wanted to kind of follow this and you reach a point where you're like trying to find influencers in your particular market or your client's market, the Googling of this, like agencies like Hello Society for your industry will pull what you're looking for. They were kind of the first. Instagram's in Santa Monica.
So it's the Hello Society, this is Silicon Beach.
Yeah.
One other one, this is more fashion skewed, is Style Hall. So it's a popular channel on YouTube. It's a network, but they also have a lot of fashion influencers too. And I was just bond, there's got to be stuff for college, I would assume as well. It's like campus ambassadorship and all that sorority stuff is huge. So
I think there's one specifically for YouTube too, because when I went to VidCon, they had like a couple of rooms.
There's a couple like YouTube, like
Agency.
age representative kind of. They're kind of like talent agents, basically.
Yeah. I don't
Fluid.
know, so it's ridiculous. What was that? I don't remember working on specifically for like YouTube moms. I don't know what they're called, but yeah, it's talent agents for YouTube
Yeah.
moms. Oh my god.
You should put the find out what the company is.
okay, so just kind of closing this out, you know, how do these agencies work? I mean, typically, like brands, you know, they need to try to get the biggest return on investment. They need to make sure that they're reaching the right people because there are so many people that they can theoretically talk to online. And the influencers have done the heavy lifting. They've connected and tapped into that audience. Therefore, it's very, very valuable for the brands. So essentially, these agencies, I heard the girl from Hello Society speak at a recent event. She was worried about being disrupted by what Pinterest is doing now. You know, they do the actual vetting, if you will, to see who is influential, and based upon, you know, their proprietary ruling and what have you, will be able to then provide to the brands, hey, you want to pay to get your content up on Pinterest, or you want to do a Pinterest giveaway, whatever you've got going on, here are the influencers.
Like they'll know, like they'll be able to tell them, like, don't do that kind of content, do this, because that's what's engaging people in these different niches.
On Pinterest, I noticed a new thing called recommended for you. Like, that comes up Where does that come?
It's all based upon like preference, like things that you filled out in your profile. That's just more part of the algorithm.
It's coming from Pinterest though, not like an advertiser.
It's your behavior.
Because they're trying to get you back. It's like if you have a pen, like you said, pen and run, you're on there and you're not engaged, they're like, they're trying to get you.
No, it doesn't send it to me as a notification, it's just when I'm already in Pinterest. It'll just have other hands that like aren't friends of mine.
Like, you should connect with this person, stay here longer. Basically, that's the message, stay here longer.
So kind of wrapping this up, I mean, it's pretty obvious that could you go out and find influencers or something? Could you go out and try to acquire that audience? Yes, absolutely, 100%. A lot of small business owners, startup companies do it on any and every given day basis. But there reaches a certain point where you have that budget and you're really trying to get, more traction. You're trying to leverage the time that you're spending on the social networks and trying to reach as many people as possible that are high quality traffic. Therefore, these influencers really help. So starting out to sort of keep track of your own influencers, I mentioned that when I was working with one of my drink clients, it was an oat-based water beverage, if you can imagine that. And moms were really concerned about, what their kids were drinking and it not having too much sugar and it having fiber and all these things. So we started to look for different mom bloggers and we kept a chart very similar to this. And as you heard me explaining to Francesca, some of the things that I was looking for are, what is their website and blog, but like, when's the last time that they blogged and how many comments do they have on their blog and, what's their Twitter handle, Facebook posts, Google Plus, maybe not. But basically, the whole key is that you want to keep some sort of tracking as you're starting out and doing this on your own efforts. And spreadsheets is the easiest way to do that.
Did you guys put it in as a resource, like a template for this?
I think
I
so.
didn't see that.
This?
But this one, yeah,
I think
I saw something.
I think it's in there, but if it's not, I'm going to be valid.
It is. So the real keys are just like anything else, just like dating. You don't see somebody at a coffee shop and walk right up to them and say, will you please marry me? There's nothing worse than spotting someone that's an influencer and you having a need, but them not seeing the value yet. And so you reach out prematurely. No, this is like any other relationship. You need to get to know them first, right? So put them on your sheet, okay? You're tracking, their niche, what they're talking about. Then genuine engagement will most certainly be the key, especially because you're targeting them since they are talking to an audience that you aspire to talk to. So share something of theirs. Tell them why you liked what they wrote. Figure out how to engage with them beyond the favorite and run. And then a lot of times what I found is that by doing that, they might reach out and say, hey, it'd be great to connect with you elsewhere, or this is what I typically will say, do you mind if we connect on LinkedIn? And the reason why I like taking that step is because it's that business platform that shows that I'm, legitimate and have these recommendations. And then from LinkedIn is typically when I say, hey, would you mind if we exchange emails or hop on a phone call or whatever, I'd like to talk to you about something. But if we talk about a funnel, that's really the funnel. First you build trust.
And LinkedIn is once you connect there, you have their email. So that's super smart what she's saying, because it's like, oh, now I got your email, whether you ever think about it, it's weird.
I found that when they see me on social, they get to know me, and they can go to LinkedIn, kind of get a feel for my credentials and my professionalism. Then they typically don't want to be on LinkedIn more than their 9 minutes on average. So they're like, get into my email inbox. And that's how we build the reciprocity. The big key here is to lead with what you can give them. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten pitches of people who are like, you are an entrepreneur, can you write this for my company and blah, 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 or no. Lead with what you're willing to do for them. What's the give that you're gonna give them because you wanna get that something in return. So make sure you lead with that first, all right? You might think that could be said in your product, but trust me, saying that we'll feature you on our site or help you with traffic, whatever.
See that you're really passionate about this cause. We'd like
See
to
that
get
you read their
involved.
content.
Yeah.
I did a whole pitch perfect panel with bloggers, and they said they couldn't believe the amount of people who wanted to have them as influencers who had never even read any of their posts, who couldn't even tell them anything about their sites at
I
all.
saw the coolest hack for Twitter today on this, which is in helping to warm up an influencer. read it, Google the person's name in interview, find an interview where there's a quote that you could pull out that's like quotable to them, put it in, use Canva, put a fancy background behind a pretty picture, quote them, share it. Love when you said this, and you just created a meme with their name in it, with a skyline behind it. A little bit of pay attention to that. That's a cool little hack.
All right, so
It's
to
cool,
close
right?
out,
I'm telling you, it's great.
quick recap. So we talked about the role of social media marketing and what it's good for, and hopefully tonight you picked up a couple of other practices or tips and tricks, because we can become social creatures of habit, right? Or we could just say, oh, I know that, I already do that, but really, what we're trying to get you to do is be a little bit more strategic and deviate from what's comfortable and familiar for you, which might be just brand awareness posts or just promotional posts, and really think about creating that experience for your end user. By now, you should be able to describe the core differences between various platforms, including Quora. Identify good social media content. Remember that analogy of the fake plush bunny rabbit versus that cute furry rabbit that you want to go and pet and feed a carrot to. And then we just recapped in the most thorough way the latest trends in influencer marketing. Hopefully we'll see Tracy on one of those influencer marketing management sites. All right, homework. So obviously we're approaching final project presentation. So if you've yet to really get caught up with plugging all that information in, now would be the time to definitely start doing that.
I do. And there's no pre-read for, next lesson is all about Facebook advertising. Would you guys like me to show you how to set up your targeting Facebook? That would be like the tactical thing that we focus on? Okay. So that's what we're going to focus on. It's another one of these lessons where it's like,
So it's what is, do you think Facebook is mostly for retargeting, not just the initial?
I'm not saying that it's mostly for it. I'm just saying to give you something real tactical that you can see. That's a good thing that I can show you how you're going through all the steps. And then we'll talk about budgets and all of that. But yeah, no homework, no pre-read at this point, because you really should be just working on your final projects.